Hey everyone, welcome back out to the channel. Today we have an exciting episode. Well, it might be exciting. We're going to be doing some troubleshooting with the POF Revolution. When I put the suppressor onto it, we lost some of the reliability that I'd been experiencing. Let's get to shooting and see if we can fix this up. Okay, well, let's talk about what we are shooting today. Today we are shooting this POF Revolution. It's really a pretty unique gun because it is a short-framed AR-308 type rifle. So short frame meaning it's the same length, the lower and the upper receiver are the same length as what you might see on an AR-15. But of course the magwell and then the chambered and the barrel are all for 308. Certainly has a lot of parts compatibility with the AR-15. So your buffer tube, your stocks, grips, all of those things are pretty compatible. But the POF Revolution also adds in some unique characteristics of its own. So it has an integrated top rail that is dovetailed in. You can see here how it's dovetailed in to the upper receiver, and then that rail is a uniblock up to it. It also has on it, and a lot of 308s, they're just now getting them, but it has a 5-position gas regulator. And so with that gas regulator, there are multiple settings. There's a normal setting. There's an adverse condition, which has less gas, which actually still doesn't make any sense to me. There's a no gas setting. And then there is a setting for suppressor 1, regular suppressor, and suppressor 2, which is supposed to be more gas than suppressor 1. And what I have on the end of it is I have a Huxwrx Ventum, so it fits my dead air sort of hub B compatibility type mounting systems, and that's what I have on there is a Xeno type mounting system. I did replace this and put a B5 grip onto this. I do like having a spot for my Skittles. Well, actually, I put in here some extra gun oil. I also put in spare batteries for my 2 scopes, my Holosun and my Vortex Razor LHT. So with this type of rifle system, one of the things that I was going for was extra reliability. It has a piston gun, it should have that. Really has a pretty unique design system to get those cartridges extracted out. I'll probably have a little bit of an inlay on what that looks like. But then overall, this system is supposed to be extremely reliable, but I was having problems making sure that it was on the right gas setting and that we had reliability out of this system overall when I added that flow-through can, which is different than most suppressors, so it doesn't push as much back pressure back. So what I was finding was that I was getting too much bolt speed and I had to slow the bolt down. So this piston in here pushes a bolt back that's about the size of an AR-15 bolt and pushes it back, and it had sort of a regular weighted, it had a regular weighted buffer at the end here. So what I did was I popped out the buffer and then I put in a heavier H3 weighted buffer, and then I pushed the gas setting down to the setting that had more gas for a suppressor, so sort of their adverse setting. All right, so with that, we are going to try it out and see if we can achieve reliability shooting this thing suppressed. All right, well, we're going to continue to test with this POF Revolution. We now have an H3 buffing. I think it's a CAC buffer. I tried a couple of these different KNS shot buffers that have the extra spring on the top of the buffer. This is an AR-308 shorty type, so most AR that have a carbine tube in them, AR-308s that are going to be using it will use this one. That would be typically more for my M5. And the typical one in here, it uses a normal AR-15 style buffer system in it. So the POF site recommends that type KYNS, but a buffer for it, but I could never get it to lock back. It seemed to function fine, but it would never get last round hold back, and to lock the bolt back all the way back, took tremendous amount of pressure. So what we're going to do here, I have got 5 rounds loaded up of some AAC ammunition. We're going to be shooting some groups, but we're also just going to be testing for reliability more or less. And we're going to see how that performs. We're going to see how it does. I do have the gas setting, so I have that heavier buffer, the H3, And then I also have the gas regulator turned all the way around to the last setting where it's past suppressor. It's suppressor 2 setting, where in theory there's just a little bit more gas than the regular setting. It's supposed to be using suppressed in an adverse condition, but that seems to work best. With this, there's too much gas when we have it on the 2 regular settings and not enough gas when we have it on the regular suppressed setting. So this seems to work pretty good so far, but let's continue to test it. I've tested some 130 grain Federal, some 150 grain Federal Fusion, and I've got some AAC 150 grain we're going to test now, and I've got some AAC 168 grain Sierra Match Kings that we're going to try in just a second here. So it's kind of jumping around on the paper down there, but it's ejecting fairly well. It's still ejecting just a little bit forward, but hey, I'm taking it. It's ejecting it fairly strongly and reliably, and I'm getting hold back. We're going to now shift to the AAC 168 grains here at Match Kings. I'm not letting this suppressor cool down, and so we may get a little bit of mirage, and my groups are going to start to look worse and worse. Okay, well, we got about 10 rounds. We're just going to see if we can get these off rapid fire and see what that does for reliability. Some might argue that it was not a rapid fire, but it's at 100 yards. So, all right. Hey, that ran perfectly. Super excited about this now that it's running right. I know which setting to run it on. I had to tune it a little bit with a buffer tube. I'm super glad that this rifle system, which is a piston system, but still behaves a little bit like a gas operated system, that I was able to tune that with a buffer weight. That's definitely a plus that you can tune it, because suppressors on 308s on semi-auto guns are always a pain in the butt to get right. I think we got it, and I'm super excited about that. I love this rifle. I love the setup. I love the ergonomics of the controls. I love the short frame nature of it. I love how heavy it is or lightweight it is. It's just a fantastic rifle. I'm kind of in love with it, so I'm super excited that everything's running well. Okay, just taking a look at what we have here. I did have some nice groups. This was some of that 168 grain. That's pretty close to 1 MOA on a 3-shot group. That was pretty awesome. Up here was a mixture of 150 grain FMJ. I think the first shot was here, and then 2 or 3 more shots here. And then 168 grain, I think I had 2 shots up here, and then 1 over here just above 1 MOA. So not bad. And then you saw the other shots and where they landed, but yep. All right, well, let's wrap things up. Today we took a look at the POF Revolution piston gun chambered in 308. It's their 16-inch variety. And what we were having problems is when I added the Huxwrx Ventum can onto the end of the rifle, I couldn't find a gas setting that I was getting reliably cycling and reliable lockback on all the different variations of ammunitions that I was shooting with. So what I added was an H3 buffer to slow that bolt back that was going back just a little bit. So I had to add an H3 buffer that allowed the bolt to slow down just a little bit, allow the cartridge to extract before it picked up the next round and put it into the chamber. The characteristic or the happenstance that I was seeing was that I would get a new round being picked up and the old cartridge not entirely thrown out of the chamber. So I wasn't getting a reliable extraction. So with this slowing down of the bolt just a little bit and this reduced gas setting on it, I was getting reliable and have been getting reliable shooting. I've been testing it out here a bit, and I've made some videos with it so that you can see how it works reliably. I think that's it. So if you're having, let me know if you have a POF Revolution, if you've had problems in the past with it. Are you having? The manual's full of warnings that every time you take this rifle and you try to put a suppressor on it, it warns you many, many times that that's going to kill your reliability. So I have no doubt in my mind that there have been a lot of other people that have tried this. I've also read on some forums and other places where people have gotten it to work with various combinations of new springs, buffer weights, so on and so forth. I'm hoping that this will provide advice and evidence for someone who has the same issue in the future, but be warned, your rifle will behave different than mine. Unless you have the exact same suppressor as mine, I doubt that this will be the exact solution. And then you also are dealing with tolerances in these guns. And my experience with 308 semi-auto rifles is that each one is a special snowflake, and each one has to have their own tuning done on it. Well, I hope that that's been useful for you today. I'm pretty excited that this thing is running. I really do love this gun. I'm excited about it. Hope everyone has a great week, and let's get to shooting.